13.23 has led to quite a drastic shift in meta for every single role, as there are new picks who have gained priority and prior OP picks who have dropped off significantly. With the help of our challenger players and analyzing the most recent data, we are set to bring you guys a complete update on the solo queue tier list for every single role. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Hands down, the biggest winner coming out of 13.23 has been top lane Trundle. We mentioned in the pre-patch tier list how we expected for top lane Trundle to win out more than jungle Trundle based on the buffs, and that is exactly what's happened. We did not shift top lane Trundle up the tier list though for pre-patch, so he's definitely in need of a readjustment for mid-patch. It's not just the direct buffs that have helped top lane Trundle in 13.23, as more gold from towers makes his split push even more deadly. If you've never seen Trundle top before, he melts towers faster than 99% of champions. His Q not only deals damage to towers and is an auto reset, but it also applies the Spellblade proc from Trinity Force, which gives Trundle a ludicrous amount of side lane threat. If Trundle has 2 items and you leave him alone hitting a tower for more than 5 seconds, the tower is gone. We really like top lane Trundle as a low elo stomper for 13.23. He's still great for high elo as well, but in the lower ranks where players don't know how to deal with split pushing as much, it gives Trundle even more value. Since we skew our tier list more so towards what's best for Diamond and below, Trundle is moving all the way up into the top lane OP tier for 13.23. So if we have a look at the top lane tier list, OP tier will now consist of Malphite, Nasus, and Trundle, which means Ornn gets the bump down to S tier. Other than Trundle, Riven is another top laner who has seen a significant rise in strength due to her buffs. If you can pilot Riven well, she's definitely a borderline OP pick now, but for Diamond and below, Malphite, Nasus, and Trundle are equally as strong, but way easier to execute, so we have them rated above her. Now that split push top lane champions have become stronger this patch due to the local gold on tier 2 and tier 3 turrets being increased, if you're looking to master your split push game, we have a dedicated course on our website to help you out. Jax, Fiora, Nasus, and Trundle are all exceptionally strong picks for 13.23 that can really take advantage of the tower gold buffs. A few of the highest priority top lane bans include Jax, Fiora, and Malphite. To escape low elo from the top lane, spamming one of Mundo, Nasus, or Garen is a great idea. So Riot really found a way to nerf Briar 3 patches in a row without actually reducing her power level in a meaningful way. 4th time's the charm, maybe? In all seriousness though, I don't even think you can really blame Riot here, because you'd think that with multiple repeated nerfs, the champ would see some sort of decline in strength, but it just hasn't been the case. One major factor keeping Briar afloat and causing the nerfs to be less impactful is the surge of a new lethality build. Ghostblade Rush Briar has picked up a ton of traction in 13.23, and it's currently her highest win rate rush item by a long shot. Last patch, less than 8% of Briar players were running Ghostblade, but now in 13.23, that number has climbed to 25%. So with more players abusing this build, it's the main reason to why her win rate has stayed so high despite the nerfs. Complete 3-item core that you'll want to run is Ghostblade into the Collector 2nd and Lord Dom's 3rd. So overall, no reason to drop Briar from your champion pool, especially if you're playing the lethality build, as she will remain in the jungle S tier for 13.23. So Brand Jungle has now been buffed repeatedly by Riot, almost as if they're forcing him to be played in the jungle, and highly touted players like Gurren have even been picking him up in solo queue. If you can pick Brand Jungle against a team that does not have a super heavy amount of dive, then he can work really well. This means dodging or banning out picks like Nocturne and Rengar. Clear speed is extremely fast, as Brand has 2 AoE abilities, being his W and E, which allows him to melt raptors and wolves. Brand passive dealing % health damage also means that his ability to secure Dragon and Baron is completely absurd. 20-minute Baron takes if you have a tank top lane champion to soak damage for you is a legitimate win condition for Brand Jungle. Duoing up with a top lane main who can play a tank is actually a pretty nasty strategy, as you can easily coordinate that 20-minute Baron and catch the enemy team with their pants down. With more players picking up Brand Jungle and his strength starting to shine through, we'll be giving the champion an added push up the tier list, going from B into A tier for 13.23. So for the jungle tier list, there are a couple of significant adjustments for mid-patch. OP tier is locked down by Nocturne, as he continues to stay a cut above everyone else. You'll notice Trundle is moving up the tier list for mid-patch, as the buffs have definitely impacted him in the jungle more than we originally anticipated. Jarvan is being adjusted even further down the tier list for mid-patch, as the nerf to Q has landed more impactful than expected. One jungler that we've been sleeping on, and a lot of the player base has been sleeping on in recent patches, is Talon. Ever since Ghostblade was buffed a few patches back, Talon jungle has seen quite the surge in win rate, but he's yet to be picked up very much. You can run the Ignite with Smite combo on Talon jungle to really give yourself a mass amount of early game skirmish power. Definitely one of the better assassin junglers that you can play right now, and Talon will be moved up into the jungle S tier to reflect that. A few of the best value bans coming out of the jungle for this patch include Briar, Nocturne, and Evelynn. Shyvana, Morgana, and Nocturne are 3 of the most optimal low elo jungle carries. One champion that we did not realize was being changed for this patch when we made the pre-patch tier list was Azir. So let's have a look at the changes Riot issued. W base damage was lowered. However, W attacks now trigger on hit effects at 50% effectiveness on the primary target. So what this means is that Azir's early game has become even weaker, but his scaling strength is up. So far, the changes have actually led to around a 1% dip in Azir's overall win rate, so it's looking like a net negative adjustment for the time being. Now, this may just be due to players failing to realize a more optimal build. Nashor's Rush has actually become more viable now, and it is seeing greater success than more popular options like Liandry's and Crown. A really interesting build that is actually winning the most right now consists of Nashor's with Ludens and Lichbane. The setup looks promising, so we'll have to see if it catches on more in the coming patches. For now, Azir will be placed in the mid lane C tier, but we'll be keeping an eye on him as a result of these new builds. There's very little movement on the mid lane tier list as we reach the midpoint of 13.23. OP tier stays the same as where we had it for pre-patch, with Syndra, Orianna, and Sylas in the top 3. One minor adjustment we're making is shifting Naafiri down one more tier, going from S and into A. Nerfs have landed a bit more harsh than expected, and she has seen almost a 4% drop in win rate, which is quite significant. Vel'Koz was the only mid lane champ who was positively influenced by 13.23, but the buffs have not really moved the needle in a significant manner. Vel is around middle of the pack now as a fringe A tier pick, nothing too special, but not terribly weak either. A few of the best mid lane bans consists of Orianna, Syndra, and Sylas. Mao's, Aurelion Sol, and Brand are 3 of the best mid lane champs for low elo. There's a pretty interesting new Draven build popping up in the western regions for 13.23, and it's providing him with a lot more consistent strength. Instead of building the Collector after rushing Trinity Force, you go into Black Cleaver second and Sterix Gage third. So it's a super heavy health stacking build, which helps out Draven tremendously, being that he needs to get up close and personal to deal his damage. You don't have to be as mechanically perfect with a setup either, as you're not going to get instantly one shot if you make a misstep. The damage is still quite respectable too, but you're just way more difficult to take down. With this setup, we definitely think Draven is in a really great spot right now for solo queue, and he will be moved up into the ADC S tier for 13.23. So other than Draven moving up into S tier, ADC tier list is identical to where it was for pre-patch. Vayne continues to dominate the meta and remains on another level to all other ADCs. Ziggs has finally fallen off his pedestal, but since he was so broken in 13.22, all the nerfs did was bring him in line with other S tier picks, so he's still a great option. Optimal bot lane bans consist of Jinx, Vayne, and Draven. Ziggs, Misfortune, and Jinx are who we recommend the most for the lower ranks. Okay guys, this is actually starting to get ridiculous now. Even after Riot directly buffed Janna W for 13.23, over 50% of Janna players are still maxing E out first. Janna players maxing W out first are winning 56% of the time, opposed to E max players at 52%. If you want some free elo from the support role in 13.23, W max Janna with an Imperial Mandate Rush is the ticket. We were correct in our assumption that Janna would become extremely powerful as a result of her buffs, so she remains in the OP tier for mid-patch. Janna and Vel'Koz were the only supports changed in 13.23, so the broader outlook of the support meta does not change very much. OP tier is being locked down by 3 champions, as we have Zyra, Blitzcrank, and Janna rated as the premier picks. We noted in the pre-patch tier list how the Vel'Koz changes would affect him very minimally for the support role, and that is played out to a T analytically. Vel's win rate literally did not move at all as a result of the buffs, so it's a bit unlucky for all the support Vel'Koz players. If you didn't catch the pre-patch tier list, the buffs Vel received were scaling buffs to his passive, and because it's much harder for support champions to get levels and have a consistent gold income, scaling buffs are always less impactful on supports. Highest on our ban list for support in 13.23 are Senna, Blitzcrank, and Rakan. Brand, Zyra, and Morgana are in the upper echelon of optimal low elo support options. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent Challenger players into Elo Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $6.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So that's going to wrap everything up for our latest update on the solo queue tier list. Thanks so much for watching, good luck in solo queue, and we'll see you in the next one.